In this video, I'm going to share a little tip with you on how I get my sashing pieces to line up perfectly. Having a sashing matching gives your quilt a nice finished look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line up the ruler on one of the lines along the seam line of the sashing. And I'll line this up along the edge of the block. Now I'm just going to draw a little mark here, and I'm using a friction pen so it will iron out, and they are small enough to be caught up in the seam, but be careful using ball points. And then I'll come along to the other side and I'll line up the ruler once again along the seam line, and I'll just draw another mark. And then what I'll do is I'll do that on each piece of sashing all the way along the quilt. So you can see that I've drawn those lines on the sashing, and now I'm going to take my other piece and bring it over so that I can pin it all together. And the first thing I'm going to do is to match the ends here, simply to make sure those edges are joined together. Then I'll go to the other end and do the same. And now I'll give the quilt a little tug just to make sure everything's laying flat. And then I'll pop a pin in the centre. This just holds everything together in place and it makes it easier to work with. So you can see my stitch lines here, and the idea is to line those stitch lines up with the drawn lines. So we've got our seam line here, and I will match that with the drawn line, and I'm just going to pop a pin in it. And the same with the other side. I'll just make sure that the seam line lines up with that other mark, and I'll pop a pin in it. So I'll just show you that again. So here are our stitch lines, and what we want to do is line up the stitch line or the seam line with the marks on the sashing. And once they're all in place, I'll pop in a pin. And then I'll do the same with the other side. I'll go along and I'll do this with each of the pieces of sashing before pinning the rest, because I want to make sure that it's going to line up when I sew it. And I always like to make sure that I give it a check before I start sewing. And now you see here, these lines are going to line up nicely, and same with the one over here. So I hope that tip has been helpful to you, and if you've enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And thank you for watching.